Hello, welcome to the Along Podcast. I'm Tracy, a baby boomer.
And I'm Sierra, a millennial.
And on this show, we're not afraid to talk about age and how it changes things, from wellness to lifestyle to relationships and just, well, life. So come along with us today as we talk about decluttering our lives. So recently, I happened to be on this decluttering binge, Sierra.
It is spring.
Yes. And so I started with the shredding, and I know you can take the shreds. That's a whole other thing. I don't know. Finding the right place. So I just do it at home. I have my little shredder thing.
Yeah.
So I started just going through stuff. And, it's horrible starting. It's like, but once you get started, I noticed that it was like I started to feel different. It was like a transformation while shredding. And I noticed that I felt lighter. I felt more focused. It almost felt like this weird meditation. And then I even felt, and I kind of, I don't know if I like this word, but empowered. And so I was thinking about decluttering and how it goes beyond stuff, that it's really in other parts of our lives, which we can talk about in a minute. But I wanted to ask you, since you work at home, what do you think? How does it impact you? Does clutter, decluttering, and all that?
Yeah, I'm one of those people that I can't focus in a dirty space, and especially working from home, that's a big deal. Like my bed has to be made, the dishes, like the kitchen can't be crazy because my brain, even if I can't physically see it, like I can't see the kitchen from where my desk is, but just every time I get up and go get a cup of water or something like that, I'll instantly be like, oh God, I need to do this. And then it'll be hard to refocus myself back on work and not want to just be like, I really just need to get these dishes done. So for me, it's really, really important to have a physically clean space. But I also am just someone that I need to be like in a zone, right? So if I'm in work mode, that part of that being in that zone is having like my workspace set up and like everything is primed for me to like easily do whatever I need to do. So decluttering and making sure that I have a clean space is part of that.
It is really interesting, just the experience of decluttering, because I don't do it enough. In fact, I got a lot more to go. But just that one experience told me how important it is.
Oh, for sure. You feel so much better after you do it.
I mean, how do you feel after you do it?
Decluttering in general. It's funny, you and I there must have been something in the air or the planets or whatever was going on, because I also just recently went through a full on ready to throw everything away. And again, I have to be like in that zone. I have to be like mentally like I'm ready to I'm over this and I just want it to be clean and I'm not even going to look at half of this stuff. I'm just going to get rid of it. And it feels so nice when there's like a corner of the room, or maybe it's a drawer or a closet that you've been avoiding. And every time you open it, it's such a pain in the ass to go through and look for something. And it causes you so much stress because you have to spend so much time going through it to find the thing that you want. When you finally clean that and when you actually get it in order, it feels so satisfying. And I'm sure that's an analogy for everything in life, right?
You know what? You read my mind.
Yeah.
I was going to say the same thing, that it does go beyond stuff, which we'll talk about, but starting with just the stuff part and the impact and how what I want to do, and I have like this sort of vision, this fantasy, is just get rid of every single thing I don't use, which everybody's probably saying, yeah, we all want to do that. And just have a completely zen place, like where it's just so minimal, not to the point where
full minimalist lifestyle.
Yeah. I mean, not to the point of like a monk, right? Not like that. But that's kind of my goal, is to just only have the things that you use. Like, of course, Marie Kondo. We know how to declutter, right? We know how to declutter stuff. And so I feel like that creates a sense of peace and calmness. Do you find that it happens like that for you?
Well, I think that the clearer your mind is, and like that is what kind of creates the calmness. And I find that a space with a lot of stuff usually keeps your eyes and therefore your mind constantly looking about things. So look, I'm a maximalist in terms of design. Like we're in my apartment right now. There's a lot of colors, a lot of textures. I love that. It's for me, it's like an expression of myself. So I could never live the minimalist lifestyle. A minimalist would look at my closet and be like, we have to throw away 99% of this. But that's just not how I like to function. I like to express myself through things. That being said, mess doesn't work for me. Even though I like to have a lot of different things, it still needs to like have an order. Otherwise, my brain can't handle it.
And you have a lot of stuff.
I
and
do.
Everything, and it's interesting because we're very different. Although if you looked at my closets, oh my God. Anyway, I don't want to share TMI, but everybody has a different style, but you need to have it all put into certain places. So for you,
Yeah.
that's sort of a decluttering.
Oh, I blame my mother for that. My mother was. It's funny because my grandmother and I are very similar. She also likes a lot of stuff, and I remember she used to like go on like these RV trips and stuff like that. She would come back with all these little gadgets, and just one of those people that every shelf is filled to the max with something, right? And my mom, maybe it was from growing up with my grandmother, because I'm sure my grandmother was like that from very early on. My mom, growing up, it was like everything in our house came out of a catalog. Everything was for looks, not for like actual living and use, other than the stuff in the kids' rooms. That was pretty much it. And my mom just never really liked stuff, but she was also really big in our rooms that everything had a place. That we had like those little bins or drawers or whatever, and everything went in it. And she just wanted it to pretty much always look clean. And so I think that's probably why I am the way I am. I'm thankful for that because it's, do you watch Friends?
Yeah.
Okay.
Of course.
So do you remember that episode where Ross meets this really hot girl, but she lives in a pigsty? And we're not just talking like a bunch of stuff, because Monica's place has a bunch of stuff in it, right?
Yeah.
It is dirty. There's clothes everywhere on the floor. There's like open food boxes. Like I couldn't do that. That to me is not clutter. That's beyond clutter. That's messy. That's gross. but even that, there have been times where like I've dated people and their house is just like so much stuff everywhere, messy papers everywhere. I'm like, I can't. This stresses me out. I can't be here.
I wonder if that just makes people feel in a way more secure, like they need it. I don't know, because I don't like clutter. I mean, although I need to declutter, I don't think my place looks terribly cluttered. I don't have a bunch of tchotchke around. But I wonder about that, if that gives people a sense of security.
Well, have you ever watched Hoarders?
A little bit.
It's a guilty pleasure of mine. I love watching Hoarders. Nothing's going to get you in a cleaning mood like
really. So that
Hoarders.
Inspires. That's an
It's
inspiration.
more
Okay.
like, you know what
more
it is?
than Marie Kondo.
It's more that like I watch that and I'm like, I really need to fucking clean that room. I'm nowhere near being a hoarder.
What? I think I might watch an episode.
But if they can throw something away, I also can throw something away.
You know what? And that's a good point. And what I want to get onto some other parts of decluttering, but it's that need to hang on to memories,
the sentimental part of it.
And it's funny because my mom is a perfect example of no clutter. She just, like, when my stepfather died, my beloved stepfather, she got rid of stuff pretty quickly. I mean, she kept certain things, but she didn't have a problem doing that. It was like, for her, it helped her move forward. So
yeah, some people are like that.
And well, I'll save this till a little bit later, but I'm glad you brought up the mind in clutter, because decluttering goes beyond stuff. That's what I've been discovering, because as I went on my decluttering stuff mission, I started looking into what other parts of our lives can we declutter. And it turns out, well, there's the mind, I've just made the mind, the heart, and the lifestyle. But mind, let's take the mind. And obviously our minds are so cluttered now because of the massive amounts of information, right? How is it for you? Do you feel like your mind is cluttered?
Yeah. I mean, especially with your phone and constant notifications, I've turned all of the notifications on my phone off. I don't have any.
Oh, that's a good idea.
I don't have any badges, like, when you can see like the number of unread, whatever. I don't have any of that. My text messages do show up on my lock screen, but that's it. Emails don't show up on my lock screen. Phone calls and text messages are the only thing that show up on my lock screen. I don't have any news alerts. And the reason is because like constantly being bombarded with all of that stuff became incredibly overwhelming. It made it really difficult for me to focus. So beyond physical clutter, like mental clutter became a big thing that I've been much more mindful of lately, especially with everything going on in the news today.
And it does make you anxious. I think too much clutter for me makes me overwhelmed and just it makes me overthink, I think, more than anything.
For sure.
I feel like I don't know if this is a generational thing. I don't know. Because, we didn't have all the devices. And I know you guys didn't have as many as there are now for the
We didn't have any.
So it's a big difference. Because, I mean, really, I think back to as far as devices go, we didn't even have, and now I'm really telling my age, we didn't have even, there was a time, believe it or not, you guys, where we didn't even have message machines. So we had very few, and one phone in a family, and and if somebody's on it, no one can get through. It's like was totally different. And I love the convenience now, but God, it does. I feel that overwhelm. I feel that it's just like a too much feeling.
Are you talking answering machines? Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Okay. I had a minute where I was like, what's a message machine?
Oh, yeah. You know what? That's so funny because we called it a message machine. I think that was the first name we called it. I have to look that up. You're right.
And for Gen Z, that was a little box that recorded messages.
Oh God!
Can I tell you though, it is funny how that communication really changes thing. I was with my brother. This was like maybe like 5 or 6 years ago. My brother was visiting with his then girlfriend, and we were listening to some song. It was like a 90s song, and on the song she references like, you're making me like have to screen my caller IDs, like calls. I like have to check my caller ID or whatever, and like my brother turns to me and goes, caller ID? Like, what? Screen your calls? What do you mean? Doesn't it just pop up and you can see who it is? And I was like, no, this is pre-caller ID, honey. Like, we didn't have caller ID back in the day. There was a time where you just didn't know who was calling and you just had to pick up the phone and hope for the best. And if you were trying to avoid someone, you would just wait until it hit your answering machine and you would hear it, or they would click off.
Now, before that, before we had message/answering machines, way before. Okay, so we didn't even know, and we're way digressing, I know, and we'll get back to some more decluttering stuff. But if the phone rang, you answered it because it's usually you're waiting for a boy to call or something, and you don't want to miss the call or your friend. So you didn't have that option. That's so funny. That will be another episode.
Can I tell you something that's going to blow your mind?
Yeah.
My phone doesn't ring if I don't have you in my phone. It goes straight to voicemail if I don't have your number.
Oh,
so
see?
I actually can't even figure out how to turn that off anymore, and I don't care. It will go straight to voicemail.
And after talking in a different episode about social, being isolated and being antisocial, oh my God, this all overlaps, right? Because that's like antisocial on steroids.
If I don't know you, I don't want to talk to you. Not on my phone. That feels personal.
That's so funny.
Anyway, sorry, I digress.
So beyond the device, the clutter of information, there's also negative thoughts. And I think this is interesting because we all know about negative thoughts and not having negative thoughts and all of that. But the question is, okay, we have the info, but how do we do it? And I have some ideas.
Okay.
Because I do what we all do. It's like you go and you can go into a loop and, whatever you're obsessing about. But you know what works for me is my mantras, and not necessarily mantras in the traditional sense. Like if you go to a spiritual leader, they will tell you exactly how to do mantras and the words to
Right.
pick. Well, I march to my own drummer, as always. So I just pick my own stuff.
Sure.
And thank you for showing me that this issue is already solved. That's my big one. And guess where I found it?
Where?
Instagram. So, okay. So as I'm scrolling, getting more information in my head, I come across these gems.
Yeah.
That's the upside.
That is
But
good.
there's an example. It's just a simple saying that I like. And you don't have to think about the issue either. You just say it. Mm-hmm. Just say it. And they swear that it will help. And I don't know. I feel like it does.
So you're saying that when you feel overwhelmed, it helps to have this statement that just instantly, it's like clears your mind instantly, gives you a path.
It's like it erases the other stuff. It's like it substitutes. It's like it works as a substitute for negative thoughts.
Interesting.
Because if you try to, it's like meditating, and Greg knows, it's like trying to have no thoughts. That's hard.
Yeah.
I, do a different style of meditation, and I'll listen to the decibel music with the number, with the
Binaural beats.
Thank you, binaural beats. But I just think it works pretty well. And I'm walking down the street or running or whatever I'm doing, and I have those mantras in my head.
Yeah.
And it's almost like going to the gym. You just keep doing it, and then
Mental
you just
exercise, yeah.
and then you just want to do it all the time. You just want to go into that as you're walking.
What a superpower.
You know what? That is a superpower.
Yeah.
I want to explore superpowers. That'll be another episode. I love this idea of superpowers. Do you have anything? What do you do?
I mean, I think what I've learned really, really works for me. And I learned this during COVID because I have a job that most of the team works on the East Coast. And so when I was going into an office, I had an excuse for why I couldn't answer emails or be in a meeting or something like that, because there was a physical time period where I had to get ready to get to the office, and I got to walk my dog before, and then I got to eat right. There's some stuff that I got to do to get my morning started. So I would not at all check my phone for work or email or any of that prior to getting into the office, because I had to drive there. And usually that was around like 9:30 or so. When COVID hit and I was working from home, everything went out the window. Suddenly it was, I could get out of bed and check my phone and immediately go into work mode and go into pajamas because I don't have anywhere to go. And so I kind of lost my morning routine. I lost any sort of time to myself. But what I realized from that was that my brain became mush, because I really needed some dedicated time that I was just sort of separating and setting my brain up to kind of power through my day. And not to just immediately bombard my brain with what's going on this project and this email and this Slack from this person and this person needs this. And it was too cluttered in my brain. So what I started doing is doing a really long walk in the morning with my dog, because it's hard to hold my coffee and hold the leash and also answer my phone at the same time.
Oh, darn.
Oh, shoot. So I would just use that time to listen to a podcast or listen to a walking meditation or just, listen to music or something like that. Being outside also, I think 99% of the time will solve your problem. Just walk outside and breathe some fresh air and get some sunlight. That'll help a lot. But the actual physically doing something, taking some time to not be staring at my phone, or not that I wasn't worried about what was going on at work, but to just actively avoid it for a second was really helpful. So now what I do, because it's been a few years, since COVID and life moves on, and I've kind of like realized that boundary, not just in the morning, but I do it in the afternoon too. Because I often still start my day pretty early. Sometimes my first meeting is at like 8 a.m. And so that means that, by the time I'm done with meetings at 2, I might still have work to do, but I need that reset. So what I do is I go and I take a walk at like 2 or 3 And sometimes it's only 20 minutes if I have a lot to do or whatever. And I'll go outside and I'll take a walk and I just clear my brain out again. And I come back with a clean slate and then I can tackle. And that's my version of sort of decluttering and taking a sort of reset.
I love the word reset. I think that's a great description. And also the way you talk about getting in motion, because that's something that I was thinking about.
A lot of people do it when they work out or something like that. That's their time.
Except for when you're at the gym and people are sitting there at the gym on the machines and they're with their phones.
Yeah.
That's a pet peeve of mine.
Yeah.
Because I don't do that. And I feel like it's an opportunity it sort of forces me not to be looking at my phone because I don't do that, or walking like you do, or running. And it's like a way to disconnect from the devices without like forcing yourself. Okay, I'm not going to pick the phone up. I'm not going to look.
Yeah.
This way you just naturally do it. And how do you feel after you haven't, other than thinking about business, just in general, how do you feel?
After my
for
walk?
a disconnect, just for your
Yeah, I mean, afterwards, I usually feel like I'm refreshed. It really helps me switch modes. And as somebody who works from home, I think finding something in your routine that helps you switch from one mode to the other is really helpful. So for me, usually the mode switch is like that, using that walk or a workout class or something that will get me from like, okay, I'm done with work now. I need to take my brain out of that. And I get to like make dinner or do something or take care of the dog, or like I'm going to mentally disconnect from that for a second. I find that I have to have those habits. Otherwise it can be really exhausting working and living in the same place.
Yeah, I can imagine. Okay, so we figured out the mind clutter, the stuff clutter we know just because we know there's so much info on how to do that. What about, here's a big one, heart clutter. I call it heart clutter. And I mean friendships, relationships, and people that I'm not saying you kick to the curb. I'm just saying if you think about it when you're getting rid of stuff and you're doing stuff decluttering, you know, where it's keep, toss, back burner kind of categories. What do you think about that? What do you think about looking at friendships that maybe aren't or toxic, or I mean that just don't work, and just distancing yourself, moving forward to other people, kind of getting rid of those kinds of experiences?
Yeah, I think so much of being the best version of you is creating a space that helps you be that best version, right? So it could be a physical space that's, you know, clean and is helping you do whatever you need to do. It could also be an emotional space. And part of that emotional space is the people that are helping create that emotional space, right? So if you have friendships or relationships, parent dynamics, whoever, who are not contributing to the best version of you, that's something to definitely deal with.
And maybe the decluttering, because family is another complicated situation, but what you can do in the declutter mode and thinking about that is just kind of figure out a way to not crowd your mind with thoughts, of course, but also to just kind of let it go and not put too much energy into those relationships if it's not necessary. I mean, it's complicated for me having an elderly mother, but it's just sort of clear space, like you said, because I think when we do that, we open up opportunities to meet other people and have other newer friends or whatever, new experiences.
Yeah. Well, look, there are some things that are inevitable that you have to give space to, right? Like your mother is, you know, getting up there in age, and that's something that you have to take care of her, and that's going to take up a lot of time and energy and space in your life, and you can't just walk away from that.
Right.
You got to deal with it, right? But I think that's when having things like your mantra, or, you know, Greg over here loves to do meditation, like having those mental tools to be able to get through something. And I would say it's the same thing if, like, even to a lesser degree, if you're just having a tough time at work. I think we've all had a situation where work is really, really stressful, and that can really wreak havoc on your personal life as well, because it starts to bleed into the other. So if you just have a way to create boundaries and to create space, it helps you kind of separate the things so that way you can have more clarity in other parts of your life when some of them are inevitably out of control.
It all leads to just a happier life, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it just does.
Having control of your mind is such an important thing.
And I think the mind decluttering is a really important. Greg, do you want to speak at all about your meditation in decluttering? We'll go back to the mind for a sec.
Yeah, I think mind clutter and clutter in your life are very much interconnected. Usually when you see the people that have like a really messy home or whatever, things are really cluttered, like, you can tell they're struggling with their mental health.
Oh, that's
lots of
interesting.
anxiety or whatever, and it sort of manifests itself in your physical space. So I think they're very much interconnected, and things like meditation can really help. I mean, it's helped me a lot, but even just like going for a walk, like Sierra was kind of talking about, to reset, sometimes can help refresh your mind, in a workspace. I remember reading this thing saying we sort of are built to work in like 90-minute intervals, to be able to focus at like 90-minute chunks at a time. And so like when you try to push through like 3 hours, it's just, you can't do it. You get distracted, you start like surfing the web or whatever. So it's like, usually I will like push through a thing, and once I complete this one task, I like stand up, I get out, I go for a walk, do whatever, just to kind of like reset the energy and then come back and start on the next thing, rather than just trying to push through.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, like, I'll just end up on YouTube in a rabbit hole.
Yeah, your brain really does need a break sometimes. And I'll say, even for the people that work in office settings, when I lived in New York, and I would do this in the winter months too, usually if you work in a corporate job, you have like a 30-minute break where like you go out to get lunch or something like that, and then you come back and either you eat lunch somewhere else or you just bring it back to your desk. Instead of just picking a place that was right next to the office, I would intentionally pick a place that was a 5-block walk away. And I would still eat at my desk, but I would go and walk to that place 5 blocks away and walk back another 5 blocks, because it got a little walk in my day where I was just out of the office, could clear my head for a second, could like observe what was going on in the city, have a little interaction, and come back. And it probably only took 30 minutes, but it made a world of a difference for how I went into the second half of my day.
You know what? That's such a good point. I was thinking about that too, and especially during the pandemic when we had to stay in, just taking a walk. And I noticed that around the block or whatever you do, it's that reset.
Yeah.
It does automatically reset energetically. And I think that's a good thing to remember to do, because it doesn't have to be a big deal. You can just do, like you said, you did your 30-minute, it was 30 minutes, you came back, ate at your desk, and you felt you had a reset.
Yep. And again, I was still sitting at my desk eating, which I still think is depressing to eat at your desk.
I know, I'm imagining
it's not
the
great,
cubicle.
especially in like that corporate world. But it's a big difference of sitting, like going to the fridge and getting your lunch or something like that and sitting at your desk, or going across the street, picking something up and then just going straight back to your desk, and like not having that little break that Greg is talking about, that we can really only go for like 90 minutes before we need just a little bit of a break.
And that does make sense, Greg. I've heard about that too, is the intervals and the short intervals.
A lot of people have like those little cube things too.
Oh.
Because I forget what it's called, but the little cubes that you turn over and it's like
A Rubik's Cube?
No, it's not. It's like a time
It's like
cube.
a sand thing.
It's basically, and it has like different time things. And I forget what that method of productivity is called, but a lot of people have like these little cubes that it starts a clock where it's like, I'm going to work on this task for an hour or something like that. And then once that goes off, they stop completely. And then they go and reset, and then they come back and they'll do another like time block. I think it's called time blocking.
I have to look into this.
Yeah,
that
I like
sounds
this.
Yeah.
I want to get one. Okay, which leads us to I call it lifestyle decluttering. And I mean, essentially over compartmentalizing our lives. We all know that. We all are too busy. I mean, I don't work a regular mainstream kind of life, so I work project to project, but it's like overscheduled and all of these things, and we end up having no downtime, and our lives, that is a total clutter situation. So what do you think about that?
I mean, I am notorious for overcrowding my schedule. That's why I'm always running late. But I do think, I don't know if this is particular to women. There was this Sarah Jessica Parker movie, actually, that really spoke to me about this. I feel like women constantly feel like they have to do it all.
Yeah.
And there was some sort of Sarah Jessica Parker movie. It might have been called like How Does She Do It or something like that, where basically she's a mom. She's also like a corporate CEO or big exec or something like that. And the whole movie is about how she's trying to do it all. And she is feeling like a failure, but like everybody's like, oh yeah, she's like doing a good job. But she is struggling. And you see it in this movie where she's like, oh, I would have like been there. Like it was like one of her sons gets like a first haircut or something like that the nanny gave to her. And she was just so upset that she wasn't there for it. And it really, I think women in particular feel like they have to do it all. They think about everything that they have to do. I know even for me, if I'm like doing work, but I also want to fit in a workout, right? But then also I want to like cook a healthy dinner. All of these things are playing in my mind of like, okay, if I need to do this, then I need to get this done by this time. But then the dog needs a bath too. So then I'm going to have to do that at this time. And it's just a crazy mess in my brain of scheduling of, well, I got to do this first, and then I can do this while my hair dries, and then I can do this while it's exhausting. It really is exhausting being in a woman's brain sometimes. I mean,
I'm not that overly scheduled, so I haven't done that. And one thing I do though is on a social level, I don't schedule multiple social interactions in a day. Like, oh, we got to meet this person for that and go do that. I don't like doing that. I like to do one social interaction in a day, not back to back like some people do.
What do you consider
it's
a
like
social
double
interaction?
booking with dating.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of the Sex in the City where Charlotte double booked.
Oh, I used to do that in my 20s.
I don't know if I ever did that, but it's just I cherish my downtime so much that, and not everybody has that luxury. I know that if you have kids, that's a whole different thing.
Were you like that before the pandemic too?
Yes.
Okay. So it's not a new thing that came out of like the lifestyle of the pandemic.
No, because I never felt the need, but there is one thing though. There's one piece of this FOMO.
Oh, yes.
That I think all of us seem to have more and more these days. I remember actually writing a blog 15 years ago about this thought. I thought I was the only one who had this idea. And apparently it became a thing, fear of missing out. And so I do have some of that whole thing. Oh, well, I have to go do this and I can't miss that. But that's a whole other way of cluttering up your life.
I definitely feel like I had that more when I was a little bit younger. But now as somebody who is not a big fan of like going to the bars and stuff, I don't really have that feeling anymore.
And that's probably healthy.
Yeah,
right?
Probably.
Because the thing is, all of this is about, I mean, our show is about wellness essentially and dealing with navigating age and lifestyle, just everything in life and making life work better, right? I mean, that's kind of what we all want.
Yeah.
Is making our lives work better for us.
For sure. But also not completely isolating yourselves at the same time.
Well, and that's part of it. Yeah. I mean, it's a lot to tackle.
It is. And it can be very confusing. The balance is, I'm sure, very difficult.
And speaking of balance, I mean, because I see when I thought about this decluttering thing, and I thought about this as an episode, starting with the shredding, I was aware of the fact that decluttering is mind, heart, lifestyle. It's so many things. It's like holistic decluttering.
Yeah.
It's every part of life, which then there's even more to do.
Yeah.
Starting with the paper, but the shredding part, where this all began for me, I found that doing those little steps and saying, okay, just shred 5 pages. It really does work. You just do a little bit and then you want to do more and more and more. So it's a way of helping you to motivate yourself. It's the little steps, whether it's your mind, whatever you're trying to do with decluttering.
Yeah, I feel like a general good rule of thumb in life is that just start small and work your way up. And that usually will motivate you in a lot of ways and set you on the right path. Because starting something small and being able to accomplish that small task feels very rewarding. And then and this is for anything, not just decluttering, but like if you set a small goal, you accomplish that goal. Now you feel motivated. Now you feel good about yourself and you're ready to take on something a little bit bigger or just do that small goal again in a different capacity. So either way, it's progress, but I think just like starting is really helpful.
I think,
key.
Isn't it? It's such a great rule of thumb.
Yeah.
And I think decluttering our lives and decluttering whatever category, I think what it does is it opens up new experiences. Now, decluttering in the traditional sense of stuff definitely does that. There's like this feng shui thing about decluttering stuff, that when you do that, it opens up opportunities, new pathways, new experiences. So it's like, that's a real motivator.
Yeah, for sure.
So if we could just declutter our negative thoughts and our overthinking and over compartmentalizing, scheduling, and it's a lot
Clear
of stuff.
out the cobwebs and make room for some bigger, greater things.
Yeah, I just think in the end, decluttering can free us on a certain level. It gives us a certain freedom.
Yeah, spring clean your mind.
Well, I'm going to leave us with a quote because I found this great quote, and I'm going to read it for all of you guys, a parting quote about decluttering, and I wish you all luck with your decluttering path. This is from a woman named Louise Smith. You can't reach for anything new if your hands are full of yesterday's junk. I kind of love that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's all about resetting and creating newness. Well, that's it for today. So thank you for coming along with us. If you want to see more, check us out on Instagram or TikTok at Along Podcast. And you can follow us on whatever platform you're listening to or watching today. And we'll see you next time. Bye.